Did you know that Sacramento is among the top 10 most polluted cities in the nation? And while California has some of the most aggressive carbon reduction goals in the world, there's much more to be done. SMUD has a bold new clean energy vision to eliminate carbon emissions in our power supply by 2030, the most ambitious goal of any large utility in the United States. At the same time, we're committed to continuing to provide safe and reliable power, with rates among the lowest in the state. We are your community-owned, not-for-profit electric company that's been serving in the best interest of our customers and community for over 75 years. Because of you, we're striving for a zero-carbon future that will lead to a cleaner and healthier region for all, today and for future generations. Visit cleanpowercity.org to see how you can be a part of the solution.
La lesión está sanando bien. No apoye esa pierna, ¿ok?
¿Y qué le dirá a los muchachos? Soy su goleador estrella.
Ten paciencia.
Gracias, doctor. Ya me hizo cita con el fisioterapeuta.
¡Wow! ¡Qué buen doctor!
Por algo trabaja con atletas profesionales.
Sí, pero tú tropezaste con el balón de Luisito.
Igual es una lesión deportiva.
Sí, mi amor. Deportiva.
En Kaiser Permanente facilitamos el cuidado de calidad para que vuelvas a jugar cuanto antes.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about.
Our story begins more than 60 years ago inside an abandoned chicken coop, where our founder discovered a retired teacher living, no home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion, that inspired AARP. Today we empower people to choose how they live as they age. As a wise friend and fierce defender, we advocate for better health, financial security, and stronger communities. AARP, join us in making a difference.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathy Rodriguez-Aguirre, and I'm the President and CEO for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us today for what I've actually referred to as State of Hispanics 2.0. For some of you, you joined us in September of 2021 when we actually released our very first Hispanic Economic Report. It was done in partnership with Sacramento State, and it was underwritten with help from Sierra Health Foundation. And it was the very first in-depth, hyper-local profile of the Latino community across the 6-county region. So we were very excited that we were able to present that to you and share the data and opportunities that were available. From there, we had stakeholders that reviewed the data and created a Hispanic Economic Agenda. And the agenda was really meant to show where the opportunities were to increase the well-being of the Hispanic community, and in essence, also prosperity for all. But we wanted to take some time to actually bring this back to you, hence the 2.0. We want to share with you again what this report was, what the agenda is, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to take this agenda on the road to our neighboring cities and counties, sharing the agenda with stakeholders, finding out the programs that they have there in place, how we can assist, and how we can all work collectively to really enhance the well-being of our Hispanic population across the 6 counties and ensure, again, prosperity for all. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a very in-depth panel that we'll have with our media. We're going to hear from them. We're going to show you the reports that Telemundo put together for us back in 2021. So that'll give you a good frame of reference as we continue with our conversation today. But before I go any further, I want to make sure to thank our sponsors and partners that support us and believe in this work and know that together we're going to be able to make a difference. And those sponsors are SMUD, Kaiser Permanente, Sacramento State, 5 Star Bank, AARP of California, and Safe Credit Union. So thank you to you for making sure that you are continuing to believe in us and the work that we're doing, and to really ensure that when we talk about economic equity and prosperity, that you are the partners that believe enough in that to invest in the work that we're doing. So thank you so much for that. So today's agenda, what are we going to do? Well, first, we're going to start off, as I shared a little bit, with a media panel. Because when we talk about this agenda, when we talk about this report, we're really excited about it. There's so much opportunity available. There's so much work that can be done and a lot that can be accomplished. But the reality is we need help from the media, because we need that help in telling our story, how that's shared, and what are they doing to help us with that. So we're going to hear from a dynamic panel that's going to share initiatives they have in place, how they work to make sure there's a lens of equity in the work that they do, and hear just a little bit more what's going on in their own organizations. We are going to hear from Senator Padilla, who has some remarks to share with us about the economics for Hispanic population across the United States and here in California, and also here specifically to Sacramento. So we're very excited to hear from him. And then we're going to wrap up everything we've heard and let you know some next steps and what that looks like, both for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, how you can get involved, and what we are doing looking ahead. So to begin, let's start with resharing the economic report video that was produced by Telemundo in 2021 to give you an overview of what the report is and really start the basis of our conversation for today.
The Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is committed to support our communities across the Sacramento region. And now they are releasing their Hispanic Economic Report to empower our communities out of the pandemic. This is the 2021 State of Hispanics.
It is time we openly and directly address the racial and economic divide across our region. If we want to make systematic changes, we need to understand where our Hispanic community stands today so we can build a better future for our families. The Hispanic Economic Report is designed to serve as a tool to drive economic growth across the region. It provides you with a baseline of data and opportunities to help you make informed decisions. This report is our investment towards transforming the future prosperity for our Hispanic community. I invite you to imagine a region where the economic contributions of our community are recognized. Intentional investment is made in our growth, and everyone wins, because the state of our Hispanic community is determined by us.
The Hispanic Economic Report highlights that we are the fastest growing and youngest segment in the region. It's time to invest in our communities, provide opportunities, and expand our economic prosperity at every level. Because what's good for Hispanics is good for everyone.
The objective of the Hispanic Economic Report is to empower you, to unite us as a community, una comunidad, to lead an inclusive and intentional economic agenda that champions consistent and significant investment, education attainment, regional racial equity goals, financial literacy and civic education, representation of Hispanics in the future of workforce in the Sacramento region, high-speed internet within homes in our communities, home ownership, and a strategy of regional economic approach within our 6 counties. This is our opportunity, nuestra oportunidad. Our time is now. Hoy es nuestro momento.
To give you a better idea, out of the total population of the region, 22% is Hispanic. But how is this represented in purchasing power? The annual income for Hispanic households is of little over $61,000, while those non-Hispanic households reach $70,000. And what do we have for education? Only 12% of Hispanics obtain a bachelor's degree, compared to that of 23% of other non-Hispanic groups. And only 5% of Hispanics obtain a higher education degree. While it's eye-opening to see the need to support Hispanics and the real impact our community has across the region, what does this mean for the future of Hispanics as we continue to face the struggles of a pandemic?
The COVID-19 pandemic uncovered the results of the historic levels of income inequality in our communities. While many got to work from home, a good majority of our community risked their lives to keep our businesses and economy open. We became essential workers, teachers, mental health advisors, and the engine that kept our region going. The risk of dying and getting sick of COVID became more real. and higher for our Hispanic community. And now it is up to us to continue to get vaccinated and be part of the economic recovery of our region. We have learned how to pivot, how to operate in a digital world. We have missed birthdays and family gatherings, but we're fighters. And little by little, we have started to try to get back to our normal. Our numbers are scary, but our resilience is stronger.
Here is some alarming data. In 4 out of the 6 counties that compose our region, there is more COVID cases amongst the Hispanic community than any other group. The percentage of deaths in Latin communities is 21% higher than any other group. This is mainly due to socioeconomic factors and the need for investment among our communities. We are a community that is ready for success. We just need to become aware of our value.
We invite you to view the full report on our website, SACHCC.org/report. Take time to read it, review it with your family and friends. Talk about it, figure out where you can be a part of the solution as we all work together, the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our entire region, Junto Sacramento, to be an inclusive, diverse economy. Thank you.
The Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce continues its commitment to strengthening the Hispanic communities in the whole region. Thank you for tuning in this informative journey that has shown us where we are as a community, what we can contribute, and what the future holds. To see more, you can head to the information on screen. Thank you. I am Jocelyn Cuevas, and I'll see you next time.
So I love that video. I think it's a wonderful representation of the report, and I hope that you enjoyed it too, and that it brought you, up to date of where we are and the work that we are looking forward to do. As I shared, the next step that we have is a really dynamic media panel, because we have this report, we have this agenda, we are going on out the road, to talk about it, but we need help. And we need it from our media partners. And we thought, what best way to get them involved than to hear from them, how they're telling the stories, how they're sharing the information, what internally they've put in place to really get out to our diverse communities and to really put a lens on the work and the livability of what is happening there. And so all of them, when we sent this invitation, immediately said yes. So we really appreciate that they were willingness to come on board and share what's happening at their organizations and talk a little bit more with us as we really delve into this conversation. So I'm very happy to introduce this panel to you. Today, moderating the panel will be Jose Suarez, and he is the President and General Manager at Telemundo 33, and he also happens to be one of our Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Hello, Jose. Joining him on the panel will be David Lichman, who is the publisher for the Sacramento Business Journal, Colleen McCain-Nelson, who is the Executive Director for the Sacramento Bee, and Risa Omega, who is the General Manager over at ABC 10. So thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here and to hear this conversation. And I'm going to leave you in the very able hands here of Jose Suarez. So Jose, take it away.
It wouldn't be the start of a meeting if I wouldn't be muted, as my staff would tell you. Kathy, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and good morning to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. We want to keep this conversation as interactive as possible, so don't forget that you can actually submit questions to us via the tool right here on Zoom if you have any questions for any of the panelists, and we're going to be making some time for those. You can also send me a tweet if you want. My Twitter handle is @JoseTV, and I'll go ahead and answer that for you, and we'll either direct the question or we'll find somebody that can answer the question for you. So we are going to take a quick minute. We're going to introduce everybody on the panel. We're going to let everybody introduce themselves, say a little bit about themselves. I'm Jose Suarez, President and General Manager over at Telemundo 33, Telemundo 33 in Sacramento. I have the wonderful pleasure of working with the amazing team there, and you saw their video that they produced there, the wonderful creative services team that put that together. We absolutely love their work. So we're going to go ahead and start. David, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go keep going around.
Thanks, Jose. I appreciate it very much. So I'm David Lichtman. I'm the market president and publisher of the Sacramento Business Journal. I've been here with the Journal a little over 10 years, been publisher for 7+ of them at this point. My background includes a very long stint in radio in multiple markets, starting in the Southeast, the Pacific Northwest, and in Sacramento, starting in 2004. And then did cable TV for a while before I came and joined the Business Journal. So we, as though most of you know, we focus on business news here in the Sacramento region.
All right. Thank you, David. Colleen.
Hi, I'm Colleen McCain-Nelson, and I'm the executive editor of the Sacramento Bee, and still relatively new to Sacramento. I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary here, but I'm thrilled to be here. This is my first full Sacramento winter, and as a Midwesterner, Sacramento winter is not a bad thing. So, but just to give you a little bit of a sense of where I came from, I've made a number of stops across the country. I was a political reporter for a big chunk of my career. I was at the Dallas Morning News in Texas for a number of years, covering politics, and then as a columnist. I also was in Washington, D.C. For the Wall Street Journal, covering the White House for several years. And then most recently, I was in Kansas City, another McClatchy newspaper, where I was vice president and opinion editor, and now thrilled to be part of the Sacramento Bee. So thanks for having me.
Well, and it's great to have you here. And you're right, Sacramento winters, not bad one bit. They're actually pretty pleasant. And let's go over to Riza. Introduce yourself. Good morning. Riza, I think you're muted now.
So sorry. Yes, of course I'm muted, but it wouldn't be a normal day if I wasn't. I'm sure my staff oftentimes wishes I was muted.
Same.
Okay, I'm Risa Omega. I'm the president and general manager of ABC 10. I'm almost scared to tell you how long I've worked for this organization. I've been here for 32 years. Our parent company is Tegna, which is one of the most geographically diverse broadcasters in the US. We have 64 stations in 51 markets. I am very proud to work for this company, whose purpose is to serve the greater good of our communities. My personal journey began at the station in 1990 as an account executive. So I came through the ranks of sales. I worked my way through all the various positions in sales, all the sales management roles, and was promoted to president and GM about 6 years ago. So now I get the pleasure and honor of overseeing the entire operations of this organization. And I'm incredibly proud to call the 140 plus folks in my building my colleagues. They are award-winning journalists. They are just an incredible group of people that I also call my work family. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. So I have a little bit of a different background. I got to the general manager seat coming up through news and marketing, believe it or not. So I started as a reporter, and I've worked in places like San Angelo, Texas, Roswell, New Mexico, and Miami, Florida. So it's kind of a little bit of a different path. And I'm so proud of the opportunity that I had as a journalist to be on the street, to meet people, to connect with people. And then I think one of the beautiful things that I've realized now as I've gotten older and as I've moved into the general manager seat, that now when you focus on sales and you focus on opportunity, you're also telling stories. You're telling the stories of our businesses, and you're attempting to connect those businesses with our viewers and users to our different platforms. So it's awesome to see this wonderful panel here. And we're gonna get right into it. Riza, I'm actually gonna start with you a little bit and talk about storytelling and talk about how you and your organization have looked at increasing diversity, not only on screen, but behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, so I'm not muted anymore, am I?
Nope, you're good to go. You're good to go. I think we're good to go from here on out.
So behind the screens, there has been a lot of work to ensure diversity on our team. Since I've been in this role, I make sure that our 140 employees really do reflect the diversity we serve and to ensure all the voices are heard. I continue to work very closely on closing the ethnic diversity gap with our employees, including diversity within our management ranks, so that we really do look at analytics to make sure that we reflect our viewing area, which is 16 counties large for our television station. But of course, as you know, diversity and equity goes beyond just gender and ethnicity. It really does encompass other areas such as sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, disabilities, and beliefs. And I truly do take pride in the steps we have taken to ensure that we are inclusive to all at our station. So in terms of internally, we have an internal diversity and inclusion team. They make certain we're creating and maintaining a diverse and inclusive workplace and culture within our organization. This team ensures we address concerns, thoughts of our diverse employees, including efforts to educate through newsletter communication and town hall guest speakers, because I really do believe education is the basis to breaking down barriers and creating an understanding of our differences. My newsroom last year went through an inclusive journalism program. And this whole training program was to help gain knowledge and tools to consistently provide inclusive coverage and storytelling for all communities we serve. Part of this training was audits of our content from an independent research firm. So they audited our content from the broadcast, digital, and on-air promos. And we were actually given a scorecard. We were given qualitative scores for how much diversity is in our on-air product compared to the diversity of our marketplace. And we were given qualitative data that measured the representation of people and communities of color and the way they were included or excluded in our stories through imagery and language. This training and audit analysis was a very eye-opening exercise for all of us on how we in media can unintentionally perpetuate stereotypes by the images and languages we use. So diversity and inclusion in our newsroom is really an ongoing process. It's not something you set and forget it. It includes continued training and follow-up on audits to ensure we're consistent with this important effort. And then in terms of advancing equity on the screen, we established a race and culture team whose purpose is to connect with and produce stories with our underserved and diverse communities. This team was specifically formed to serve people who have been historically overlooked and or underrepresented in the media by amplifying their voices through authentic representation, community engagement, and in-depth storytelling. You know, an example of a positive story is a piece we recently did about 97.5 KDEE. It's one of only 2 Black-owned radio stations in our state. And other stories take on a more serious tone, such as a recent 4-part series that we did called Segregated Sacramento. You know, this story sheds light on the historical impact of redlining on our communities of color right here in Sacramento. It's a story not well known nor talked about. So the team works really hard on highly focused content during key months, like AAPI month coming up here in May, Gay Pride in June, Black History in February, and of course, Hispanic Heritage Month coming up in September. So some of those are some of the initiatives that we've taken on.
And Riza, I complimented you this the other day when we had our first meeting, and I'd like to do it again. I love your campaigns, that you're all-inclusive campaigns where you're promoting the station, but you're also promoting that diversity that we do see everywhere in our region.
And thank you for saying that, Jose. And you know what's really awesome for me and in the seat that I stand in is I'm starting to get real feedback from our community that are taking notice that our content is different, that we are shaping the narrative for our community and showcasing all much more inclusive than traditionally has been in general market media. So I'm very proud of that.
I think one of the things that we always hear is that people do like to see themselves on TV. They like to see themselves represented, right? And they like to see themselves. And that's going to move into my next question for David. And what do you see the correlation between representation in media and then economic success for those groups being? Do you see a correlation there?
Yes, I do. I mean, years ago, there was an expression that said, hey, any press is good press, right? Well, it's not exactly true, because you can have some pretty negative press, which is not good for you. But there is a correlation between economic success and representation in the media. The reality is, if an organization or an individual is seen in the media in a positive light, in whatever the case that may be, and I'll give you some examples in a minute, that will, I'm going to use the word amplify. It doesn't validate, because what they are and what they do validates them in and of themselves, right? But Well, you amplify that by magnification. You're able to magnify the awareness and image, and that creates a connectivity, a connectedness to the community that extends long beyond your inner circle. Everybody's got a circle of friends, contacts, relationships, but media amplifies that to a much larger audience. There's two types of media. There's paid media and there's earned media. Paid media is a great marketing, advertising campaign, good PR campaign, and any business should be investing in that just to tell their story the way they want to be told. But earned media is when a media outlet, news outlet in particular, finds a story that is compelling and interesting and then brings it to the market, whatever their market is. We happen to be a business market. RISA is much more broad-based, and we focus on 4 counties. She's got 16 counties. And Colleen, of course, with the Sacramento Bee, covers a massive market, including her connection to the Modesto and the Fresno Bee. So this amplification can become exponentially powerful. And I'll give you an example of that. So one of the things the Business Journal does is we do recognition programs, awards programs. We recognize companies and individuals for outstanding levels of accomplishment in their fields. One of those is 40 under 40, where we recognize 40 of the most influential people in the region. Years ago, I remember talking to an individual we had recognized. His name was Patrick Harbison, and I'll correlate this also. Patrick came to me 2 years, a year and a half after that event and said, being recognized as a 40 under 40 immediately quadrupled the business I was able to go after in the marketplace. Amplification. Patrick was already a great PR person, but it amplified him. And so people knew about Patrick. So that is important. Lily Wyatt, who I know works with the chamber, was a 40 under 40 also. Had dinner with her at a chamber event not too long ago. She said, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much more business I get since I was named a 40 under 40. All right. So when we recognize companies and individuals like Cambria Solution with a CEO who's Hispanic, Robert Rodriguez, I mean, it accelerates. So these types of things are important. Our job at the Business Journal, and when it comes to serving the community, is we need to continue to reach out and do a better job finding the stories in the non-mainstream communities. All right. We're doing that by reaching out to all the chambers, all the ethnic chambers, the Hispanic chamber in particular, and trying to make sure that those chambers are able to reach their constituents and say, help us be aware of you. We need to find you. I've got a team of 8 great reporters, but they can't find everybody. So our goal is to have a network of great connected organizations that can help us tell the stories that are exceptional in our community, Jose, because there are so many, but we can't get to them all. We just need to find them. That's our goal, is to do that.
And I know that the chamber is always going to be there to help you out with that. We've used them as a resource several times, and as a station, we've been able to help produce some of the specials. So we've met some of those extraordinary people through the Salute Awards that we've produced the last 2 years, and it's so exciting to meet these people and how excited they are about the community, their role in the community, and what they're doing to really succeed. And Colleen, the Bee is doing, you're doing some stuff to really make sure that that your reporters are more connected and expanding, but not only here, but throughout the entire region, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, the Bee is really focused on a lot of the issues that we're talking about today. And at the Sacramento Bee, about 18 months ago, we launched what we call the Equity Lab, which is a lab that has allowed us to experiment with new ways to reach diverse audiences, and has allowed us to work on building new relationships with the community to make sure that we are covering all parts of our community and building relationships and engaging. And so during the last 18 months, the Equity Lab has really become an integral part of our newsroom. And the Bee now has reporters who are focused just on covering Latino issues, Latino communities, Black communities, economic mobility, and a wide range of equity issues. And then, as you mentioned, these are initiatives that extend not just to the Sacramento Bee, but across all of our McClatchy newsrooms in California. And so just in the last few months, we launched a newsletter focused on Latino communities that is a collaborative effort among the Sacramento Bee, the Modesto Bee, and the Fresno Bee. And we call it La Abeja, which means the bee in Spanish. And it comes out every week. And we in the newsletter, we deliver news both in Spanish and in English. And so we've been translating more of our stories into Spanish. We know that some of our readers want information in English, and some of our readers want news and information in Spanish, and some of our readers want to read both of those things. And so we're working on finding new ways to reach our audience where they are, and to provide them information in both languages, and also just to have more conversations to make sure that we're listening. And so La Abeja put out a survey in the last couple of months, just asking our Latino audience, what are the stories that you find most useful? What should we be focusing on? And that's been very instructive in helping to guide our coverage and help us to figure out what are the most useful stories that we can provide our Latino audience. And so all of these things have been priorities in the Bee newsroom and in all of our McClatchy newsrooms in California.
And I think that you touched on something really interesting, and I'm just going to go ahead and call it out because it's something that we're experimenting with at Telemundo, and I think it's something that more and more people should experiment with, and that's bilingual content. We've seen that our viewer uses not just Telemundo for information, but they use other methods of information in both languages. So I know that when in my daily life, when I'm speaking to my friends, I'm not just speaking in English, it's rapid fire conversation. I'm full blown Spanglish, very fast. And it's, you don't even have to think about it. It's almost like its own language at this point, Spanglish is. So I think it's exciting that as organizations, we all look at that and we all start thinking about what content looks like in the future, especially as our community grows. And we're here longer, what ends up happening is that you have more and more people speaking English, but we still care a lot about those other issues. So we're starting to get questions, and I'm going to sort of toss them around as they come in. William Franco, thank you so much for watching. And Riza, this one's for you, and it talks about the being possibly included in inclusion conversations. And so it's not exactly the question. He's asking if he could be included in that, but I'm wondering, do you include the community or people from the representatives from the community in those inclusion conversations?
Yes, we do. So forgive me, I did answer, but I don't know if it was publicly viewed or just privately viewed, but please reach out to me at robc10.com. Anybody who's listening to this and would like to contact me to have a more inclusive conversation. And yes, I would love to connect with those in our community and put you in contact with myself and folks on our newsroom team to start establishing those relationships, so we can understand the stories that you're wanting us to share from these communities that normally are not heard from. My race and culture team has a dedicated MSJ, a producer, a social engagement producer. We have a dedicated team whose focus is just this. And it's not because I want to make it special or create any different outside of my normal newsroom activity. It's because it's very focused and intentional. And the good news about the effort with this race and culture team is that it is now spreading across my entire newsroom. So everybody is getting involved in the efforts of telling stories of underrepresented communities. But I do have a dedicated staff that I can absolutely put people in contact with so we can start those conversations.
Awesome. And thank you for your openness and sharing your email with everyone to really get that conversation started and engaging. And this next question, I'm going to toss it over to David and Colleen, but I'm going to tell a story. So JR is asking about considering doing features on older adults in our community. And I have to tell you, I wouldn't be here today if it wouldn't be for my parents. And I know it sounds so cheesy, and a lot of times people say that, but growing up watching my dad's effort as he came to the United States, had to get retrained, had to learn, had to more fully learn a language, right? But he had to get certified to be able to be an optometrist here in the United States. the work that he did in building his business and building his brand, the work that my mom did behind the scenes to help him do that as well. And then the work that both of them did to push me to live my dream. There had never been a journalist, there had never been a TV person in my family. So I was blazing a new trail. So I do think that sometimes we don't give our forefathers, the people who got us to this moment, enough credit. So do you all want to discuss that? But just thoughts about that, Colleen? Maybe we'll start with you on featuring some of the adults and featuring some of the people that have got us here.
Sure. No, I think that's a great point, and I love your case in point. That's a great example, and these are definitely some of the stories that we've been endeavoring to tell. And when we ask, as we've done listening sessions through our equity lab, and as we've asked diverse communities, what coverage do you want? Something that we've heard back is that these audiences really want coverage, not just about the challenges that underserved communities are facing, but they want coverage of successes and achievements and culture in these communities. And so those are areas that we've really been prioritizing to tell interesting stories about compelling individuals, to really highlight and do profiles of individuals, do profiles of small businesses, and not just write about the needs and challenges of communities, which are important, and we certainly want to highlight those, but we also want to highlight success stories and tell stories about interesting people. And so I think that's a great suggestion, and so we are endeavoring to do more of that, and I'd love suggestions. If there are people we should be writing about, please let me know, and I will do exactly what Risa did and say, please email me, cnelson@sacb.com. My email address and phone number are in the paper every day. I'm on Twitter at Colleen M. Nelson. So tell me who we should be writing about. I'd love to hear it.
And David, this touches on what you said earlier, that you all are looking for these great stories of entrepreneurs that have made a difference in their community and really inspire people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to echo Colleen and Risa also. Easy to find, dlickman@bizjournals.com. It's on the bottom of our website under Contact Us. It's in the paper every week. This is interesting because 40 Under 40 is one of our big awards programs for years, but every year we do it, I'm always asked, can you do a 50 under 50 and a 60 under 60 and a 70 under 70? So here's kind of where we look at this. We have multiple recognition awards programs that really are designed to recognize a more senior level executive. So that tends to be a little on the older side. Most admired CEOs, C-suite awards, women who mean business are three big ones where you really have to reach kind of the top of your industry to be recognized there. And we're looking for those people, okay? We are looking for those people. But the reason 40 under 40 is because there's a lot of people under 40 that have not quite reached that level of CEO or chief marketing officer or business owner. They might be, but they might not be there yet. So 40 under 40 got carved out a little bit. Every week we do an executive profile. Almost every week in the Business Journal, executive profile. That's where we're looking for these success stories. And if someone knows of a person that we should be writing about, send the information to me, copy my editor-in-chief, Adam Steinauer, if you want, but send it to me and I'll pass along to the newsroom. That's where we're looking for the stories. And that's where we're really looking to find some success. Because the reality is we have reporters do a lot of work reaching out to people, but they're covering that breaking news most of the time. We know who we know, but we don't know who we don't know. And so our job now is to help find out who we don't know. So if people have suggestions, we'd love to tell the stories.
David, I love what you said about 40 under 40 and about the one thing that a lot of times we overlook, which is exposure. A lot of times we all need, and we're all where we are today because of exposures inside of our own organization and people that saw what we were doing, liked it, could mold it and grew it, right? And helped us grow it and develop that. So that exposure is so very important. We got another question. This one's from Renee. Renee, thank you so much for your question and thanks for watching. And don't forget, anybody can submit a question via the chat, or you can reach me on Twitter. @JoseTV is my Twitter handle, or Instagram is the kids, I guess, are, you can slip into my DMs and you can send me a question. And Renee, I'm actually going to take this one regarding education. I think one of the things that we're going to be doing at Telemundo is that we're going to be doing more stories on education, so sort of demystify the process and make it more inclusive for the families, and for the families to really understand what's going on in our schools. I think that that's something that's so very important. And then also letting people know what opportunities there are for projects and for grants, so that they can continue that education. I think it's critical, and I think it's very important to be able to do that. So we're excited to be doing stuff like that. Does anybody else want to tackle the importance of education on this one? Riza, anything that you would see exposure to education and really trying to help people with that?
I was just I love what you're doing. I was just gonna say, I would love to do something like that on our platforms as well, because I think demystifying the process, when you come from an immigrant family, or perhaps a household that doesn't have any college education, for these young folks, navigating it is difficult at best. I mean, even when you have the resources and understanding of how to go through the process, it's not that easy. So I think educating the Hispanic youth on how to go about it is really key to helping lift them up into the higher education system.
And that's awesome. And it's so important because, again, people just don't know. They're like, oh, I can't afford it. And I'm not going to do it. Can't afford it. Going to go work and figure it out. Something will happen, but there are opportunities out there. And if somebody wants an education, they should have the right to be able to get to it. And then we have another, not so much a question, but it looks like Donnie Bloomstock is the program director at Nueva Época. And it's a program to build leadership among Latinx professionals. And they've had many discussions and the need for good news. And you know what? We should probably all connect with Donnie, because I think that there's an opportunity there, Donnie, to really inspire people and give people the knowledge to know that there's opportunity out there, that there's opportunity for growth and development. And you know what? I called out my parents earlier. I got to call out my mentors because I had a lot of people that along the way slapped me around, gave me the direction that I needed, and gave me some insights into my blind spots and really helped me grow and develop. So Donnie, if there's anything that we can do, I'm committing for myself, but if there's anything I can do, but I'm sure anyone on the panel would love to be able to be a part. So please reach out with your contact information, and we will set something up, because good news is important, but I think role models are very important. One of the weirdest role models, not weird, but just one of the most unexpected role models for me was Desi Arnaz, Ricky Ricardo. I grew up watching I Love Lucy, right? So it was amazing hearing the accent that I heard in my home. I would see it on TV. Back then it was every day, right? We'd be able to see that accent. So it was so inspirational for me. But then years later, I'm sitting in a broadcasting class, a TV management class, and the whole class was about Desi Arnaz's contribution to television, to how the 3-camera shoot. I Love Lucy was the first show to ever have a close-up. He helped develop the model for syndicated television. It's amazing when you start thinking about all of these contributions. Mission Impossible, Star Trek, all came from Desi Lu Productions. So what an amazing inspiration. And I don't think I've ever paid attention more in class than that day, because I was so excited about that person from the same island as my parents, with the accent just like my parents, could make a difference in this business. And that was a really big driver, and it really made me feel confident about how I was moving forward. So inspirations, leadership, and mentorship are very, very important to do. So Colleen, Gerardo sent this one. How do we see storytelling as an economic driver for growth, specifically in the Hispanic community? How do you see that?
Sure. I think it's a really important component of growth, and some of what David was talking about earlier, just in terms of highlighting success stories and highlighting successful businesses. That's important. One project that we launched with the Equity Lab just a couple months ago is we published 25 Black changemakers, Sacramento's 25 Black changemakers, and highlighted the great work that 25 business leaders and cultural leaders and civic leaders were doing to advance equity, to help Sacramento progress, to drive economic growth. And that's just the beginning of a series of projects that we're going to do. We're going to be doing a Latino Changemakers project as well in the not too distant future. So stay tuned for that. And so we write a lot about and talk a lot about just what are the success stories, what are the solutions that we can write about. And so we have an economic mobility reporter who's focused on what we call solutions journalism. What's working in terms of initiatives that help provide economic opportunities, that help provide economic mobility for individuals. And so often we get the rap of just writing about bad news, but we really want to identify and elevate solutions and figure out, what are the policies that are driving economic growth, what are the policies that are helping individuals economically, and what are the programs and initiatives that we can really elevate and shine a spotlight on. So I think we have an important role to play there, and storytelling is integral in that.
Okay, thank you for that, Colleen. Jenny Rodriguez wrote to us. Thank you for watching and thanks for being here. And on the topic of education, and thinks that it would be great to be able to focus on some of the trade industry and some of the apprentice programs and bring awareness to those. And I think I agree. I think that any type of education, whether it's something at a university or college or a trade program, I think is very important. I think that continuing education is an important key to success and growth. And four-year university might not be for everybody. So I think I do agree that it's very important to be able to mention that. And then Alex from Safe Credit Union's new podcast, Perfect Sense, and Alex is asking about amplifying specific voices. Do any of you have anyone specific in mind that you would want to shout out as doing something great in the community that you can mention? I've met, I can start, Lissandro over at Chando's is so impressive to me. His hard work and dedication and how he's grown his business is just a real big inspiration. I had he was on the last panel that I hosted for the chamber. And it was just so encouraging to hear his story and hear how he not only has grown his business in Sacramento, but now is taking it well beyond the borders of our city. Does anyone have anyone that they would want to just mention?
I don't know anyone off the top of my head at this moment in time, but I would absolutely love to get back. Who was it that asked that question?
That was
Alex. I would love to get
Becerra.
Alex, I will get back to you because I know people who probably have some folks that we can suggest for you. So I will absolutely respond later.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Risa there. Off the top of my head, there's not a single person I would name, but we've written on Chando's many times as he's continued to grow from one single location right there off of Arden, right, leading to Garden Highway out that direction to places you just couldn't imagine. It's just tremendous success story, right? But we look through, happy to give you some people from 40 Under 40 and most admired CEOs and some of our women who mean business that are in the, that would be great fits. They're highly successful people that you could use, that you could talk to get really good stories.
I hate to single out one person because I feel like there are so many folks we could call
tough,
out.
absolutely.
So I stipulate by saying we could list 100 individuals, but one person who's been a great partner to us has been Scott Seifert, who leads the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders program, among many other hats that he wears. But that's a program that helps identify and mentor diverse leaders, and so he's been a great partner to the B. He also serves on our community advisory board, but is just doing a lot of great work in Sacramento to help cultivate the next generation of diverse leaders. And so he's someone we've really enjoyed working with.
And along the notes again on education, the Consulate General of Mexico in Sacramento is that they're actually at an event right now that we're hosting as well, along with Comcast, our parent company, where they are giving out some laptops and again continuing that commitment to education and to the community. And Risa, I'm sorry, I've been pronouncing your name wrong. So I apologize. I apologize for that. And I love whoever wrote that to me. They said it's like smile in Spanish. So I apologize for mispronouncing that. We are running a little short on time. We do have a few more minutes for any other questions if anybody would like to submit any. But I'd like to just start wrapping up real quick if we can. And Colleen, do you mind if we start with you on any closing thoughts?
Sure. I guess I just want to start by thanking the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for hosting this conversation. I think these are such important topics, and I feel like we could fill multiple hours as we talk about just all of the different opportunities here for us to explore. And so I feel like this is a conversation that should be to be continued. But these are a lot of topics that are front and center at the Sacramento Bee newsroom, and we really want to think about how we can serve the entire community and ensure that we're giving voice to issues that are important to our Hispanic audience and all of our diverse audiences. And we continue to talk about how we can put diverse readers at the center of our discussions, how we can make community engagement a priority, and how we can really make listening a priority. And so I already offered my email address. Please do reach out to me. We want the community to help guide our coverage. We want to better understand what types of news and information are most useful to our audience. And so please email me at cnelson@sacb.com. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be part of this conversation, and I'm also just really happy to be part of this community. Excellent.
Thank you, Colleen. David, let's go over to you.
Yeah, well, again, thank you to the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This has been a very interesting discussion, and along the same lines as Colleen, we work every day to try to represent our community, and our community is the business community, and we don't care what person's history, background, or future is. If they're in business, we want to talk about the stories. We want to tell the stories. We want to find the stories. So, our mission is to inform, educate, and connect the business community. This is a great forum for information and connection along the same lines. We keep working every day. We've got a long way to go. We need to meet people that we don't know. And we're committed to doing so. And I think these types of conversations are really important. Finding the great stories are important. We write a lot about real estate. Okay, we don't have segmentation in that. But if there's information and stories, we'd like to tell them. All right. So again, I encourage anybody to reach out to me personally, reach out to my editors, any of our reporters, or all of our information is listed on our website. Easy to find. We're very transparent. And I think that the key thing is to be conscious, be aware, and be intentional as we have these conversations and we continue to work through the stories of our community.
Love that. Risa.
Yeah, I am very grateful for being part of this panel today, and I learned a lot from all of you, from the questions, from the other guest panelists, so thank you for having me. As humans, we need new ideas, views, and practices to stimulate and inspire us. It's important to recognize that diversity is fundamental to our surviving, but it's also key to our thriving. And I look at the Hispanic community around us, and they are young, vibrant contributors to our community and truly deserve equal access and opportunities for economic prosperity. Because when that happens, we all benefit. We all work together to make that happen. So I hope to be a part of that journey. I want to be a part of that journey. We have a long road ahead of us, a lot of work to do. But I think, as you can all see now, I think the work has begun, but there's still a lot to do. So like my colleagues, feel free to reach out to me at romega@abc10.com. I took a lot of notes. I got a lot of story ideas just from today's panel discussion. So thank you all.
It was wonderful sharing the screen with all of you. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you all of you for watching. You know what? I love Sacramento. I love the area. It's been so great to be there. And it's been so great to partner with the Chamber on so many great initiatives and meeting so many wonderful people along the way. So many inspiring stories that we've told, but there's still so many out there to tell. I'll give you my email address now. It's jose.suarez@telemundo.com. And you can reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with our newsroom or our creative services team. And we'll be more than happy to share your story and really connect you to who you need to be connected to. The work that the Chamber's doing is awesome and it's going to continue. And I think Kathy's going to be talking about that here in just a few minutes with all of you, but we still have a lot more to come in the rest of the time. Kathy, there you are. Thank you so much for having us today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for this conversation. I've been riveted myself over here. So I was watching it over here on my iPhone and that's what you were seeing me look away over here. But thank you so much for being so honest about what you're doing and the opportunities that are there and sharing your own stories with all of us here. Jose, as always, thank you for being a wonderful facilitator and moderator and adding all that. I appreciate you so much. And just all of you. So Colleen, I know you came here during pandemic, and so it's a wonderful opportunity for us to get to hear and see you and really get to know all the work that's been done in Sacramento Bee. Not such a secret, right? But I spent 10 years of my life at the Sacramento Bee, so I have a little bit of my heart still there, and I love to see the work that's happening there. David is someone who has been honored to be recognized in, not quite for 40 under 40, but as you said, the more seasoned folks, I guess, one of the most admired CEOs and women who mean business. There's a lot to be said for these recognition programs and to be able for people to see themselves represented there. So I know David knows every time these comes out, the first thing I do is pull out my file and figure out who can I nominate, who can we put in there, whose story can we share. So he knows that I hold myself accountable, and these are opportunities for all of us, to really get involved. And Risa, thank you. You guys have done so much great work over at ABC 10. We appreciate the partnership, and learning a lot about the audit that you did. It says a lot about an organization. Take time to really self-reflect and see where there's gaps and opportunities that can be made. So thank you for sharing that. So all of you, this was an incredible panel. I've gotten all these texts while you guys were talking. I thought that was a great point, and that was set. And you hit on so many of the priorities of this agenda, which is educational attainment, mentorship, this economic approach, regionally. What does that look like? So thank you. Thank you for helping us, move forward this agenda. We look forward to continuing to do this work with you. And for everyone who is watching this particular segment, I just want to share that a lot of times we look at the media and we hold very high expectations, for what the work they do, because they are the holders of so many stories, our own stories, those of our community, those that we care about. But I wanted you also to see that there is a human behind every story, and there's a lot of care that's happening with that. And so I hope you felt that today. Everyone gave you their email addresses or Twitter accounts, and knowing all of these personally, I hope you do reach out to them and you share with them the stories that you have, that you feel are important that the community knows, because I know that they're going to be very wanting to hear from you. So please do that. So I could go on and on about this panel because I was so excited about it, but no, the conversation has not ended, and we hope to continue that one with them. So the next part, I'm always excited about this too. So we have U.S. Senator Padilla, who wanted to share remarks with you because he also felt the importance of the work that we're doing about talking to economic prosperity here in the Hispanic population, across the United States and certainly here in Sacramento. So I am very excited to introduce you to U.S. Senator Alex Padilla.
Hi, I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have the honor of representing California in the United States Senate, and I'm proud to be the first Latino to do so. Latinos are critical to the nation's future, making up a high share of young Californians and 1/5 of the Sacramento population. Over the past 2 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed and exacerbated many underlying inequities, especially for Latino communities. That disproportionate impact is no coincidence. Latinos make up half of all frontline workers in California. As this report highlights, Latinos are overrepresented in COVID-19 cases and deaths. We must come together to build a just and inclusive recovery, and the Hispanic Economic Report shows us how. Last year, I was proud to champion the American Rescue Plan, which supported COVID-19 treatment, testing, and vaccination across our state. I pushed to address inequities in delivering these critical resources. Many programs from the American Rescue Plan are continuing to roll out in our state, including $1 billion for the California Mortgage Relief Program. The American Rescue Plan was crafted to help us address racial disparities that hold back Americans from reaching their full potential. Before the American Rescue Plan, about half of Latino children got only a partial child tax credit, or no credit at all, because their families' incomes were too low to qualify for the full amount. The American Rescue Plan extended the full child tax credit to 2.5 million Latino children in California and lifted 1.7 million Latino children out of poverty nationwide. In addition, the expansion of the Earned Income Tax Credit is helping millions of childless workers who were previously being taxed into poverty. Those workers are disproportionately people of color. And now, I'm fighting for the President's plan to close the racial wealth gap with initiatives that would further extend those tax credits, invest in first-time, first-generation home buyers, and provide grants to our nation's minority-owned businesses. I also work to bring billions of dollars to California in the bipartisan infrastructure bill. These funds will repair roads and bridges, connect workers with good jobs, increase broadband access, and more. And to support the next generation of young people taking on new jobs and opportunities, we must continue to invest in their education. I'm proud to lead the fight for equitable funding in higher education as a founder and co-chair of the Senate Hispanic Serving Institutions Caucus. I'm also proud to support reforms to make college more affordable so that students can focus on earning their degrees without fear of hunger or eviction. As we rebuild from the pandemic, we must counteract the historic underinvestment that has left some communities and small businesses more vulnerable to economic shocks. That's why I've worked with the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to introduce the bipartisan Revitalizing Small and Local Businesses Act, which would bring new resources for economic development in both urban and rural communities. I want to thank all the members of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for your work to improve the lives of Latinos in the Sacramento region. The work you're doing is timely and critical. It will help improve access to healthcare, quality education, and better paying jobs for Latino families, and that is good for everybody. As your senator, I look forward to keeping up the fight for justice, and I thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Senator Padilla, for your insightful words, for being a champion for small business, for families, and for our Sacramento region in particular. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing, back in Washington, D.C. And, for all of us, you're such an inspiration to us and a proof that representation matters. And so thank you so much for all the work you're doing and for sharing the words with us that you did today. So here we are, we're wrapped up at the end of what I've said with State of Hispanics 2.0. And if you're wondering what's next, there is a next. So we brought this in here because we wanted to talk about the Sacramento Hispanic Economic Agenda, which is really a regional approach. And we wanted to bring this back up to the forefront because the next steps is we're going on the road with it. So we are starting in May, we'll be in Yolo County, we'll be meeting with stakeholders there to talk about this agenda, to talk about this report, find out what are the big projects that are happening there and how can we ensure access and opportunity for everyone, and in particular the Hispanic population that's there. And that's our intent in the next coming months, is to hit every county and neighboring city that we can to talk about this agenda, to really develop that collective voice that lets everyone know, these are the priorities, these are things that matter. And how are you going to be part of the solution? Because here at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber, we often have the slogan, Juntos Sacramento, together Sacramento, because we know it's going to take all of us, intentional investment, an intentional approach to really come together, to look at these priorities, to see the gaps that are there and really fill them up. And it's going to take, as I said, all of us to do that. And we're excited about that. We're excited to work with our counties. We're excited to work with our stakeholders and our partners and all of you. And really, I said this back in September and I'm going to say it again. We're not here to just move the needle. We're here to burst that needle. And it's time. It's long overdue. And I know it's something that we can do together. Other things that are upcoming. You might have noticed that we have a big 5-0 in everything we've done. This year is the 50th anniversary for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And we are going to be taking time to reflect on where we've been, what we've accomplished, the people that have helped us do that, and honor and recognize them. But we're also looking forward. We're looking to see where we're going, where we're headed, and bringing those people with us. We're very much about no one is left behind. It's going to take all of us, because what we're really looking for our small businesses, for our families, for our Latino community, is economic prosperity for all. And I want to let you know that when we say that, we're saying for all, we mean that. When we looked at the census report, when we looked at our data report, it mirrored what everyone is saying. In the Latino community, we're still the fastest growing segment of the population here in Sacramento, in California, across the United States. In fact, according to the Sacramento Bee in the latest article, we were undercounted by about 5%. So we're probably even bigger than the numbers that we saw. So the intentional investment in order for there to be prosperity for all is in this segment that's growing. So here is where you're going to find your future leaders. Here's where you're going to find your future educators, the workforce, our small businesses. Everything that you're looking for is going to be happening here. And so with that intentional investment, that's going to make sure that the state continues to thrive, the United States continues to thrive, that we are very much a critical element in ensuring the prosperity for all. And that's our message. That's my message for here today. But I want you to join us because, again, when we say all, we're bringing everyone with us. And we want you to be a part of that. So if you want more information, you can look on our website, Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, SACHCC.org. You'll find this report, take a look at it, print it, share it with your families and friends, really look at it, look at the agenda, and find out where you can be a part of the solution. And call us, partner with us, be a part of something big, because that's what we're about. We're about making big changes that are moving us forward in the right direction. So with that, I want to thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all our panelists, our sponsors, and my board of directors, both on the Chamber of Commerce side and the foundation, who believe in the work that we're doing, the mission that we have, and knowing that we are a driving force when we all work together. So thank you again. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope to see you at our other upcoming events and programs in the coming year.